In the early 1970s, Dodge looked like just another American car brand trying to compete in a crowded and fast-moving automotive market. But that was only the surface story. Because underneath those long steel hoods, bold chrome grilles, and simple emblems, Dodge was building something far more meaningful than transportation. It was building machines that would define an entire generation's understanding of speed, freedom, and mechanical emotion. Cars that didn't just move fast, they changed how people felt about driving itself, and what it meant to control power on open roads, the peak of the muscle car era. Names like Charger, Challenger, Coronet Super Bee, and Dart were not just models in a showroom. They were symbols of identity, pride, and attitude. They shaped drag strips, street racing culture, and even influenced NASCAR competition during one of the most intense periods in American automotive history. And more than 5 decades later, these machines still carry a presence that modern performance cars struggle to replicate in emotional impact. What you are about to hear is the real story of how Dodge, in 1970, captured the final and most powerful moment of pure American muscle before regulations, fuel concerns, and insurance pressure slowly began changing everything forever. It begins with a quiet but powerful transformation inside Dodge itself. The company stopped thinking cautiously and stepped directly into the performance battlefield with full commitment. By 1970, America had fallen deeply in love with horsepower. Drivers didn't want silence, comfort, or compromise. They wanted instant acceleration, loud mechanical sound, and raw emotional response from the machine beneath them. Instead of building a single performance hero, Dodge made a decision that would define its legacy. It created an entire family of muscle cars, each one designed with a distinct personality and purpose. The Charger represented dominance on the highway, a machine built for presence, stability, and high-speed confidence. The Challenger focused on modern pony car competition, blending style, comfort, and performance in a balanced form. The Coronet Super Bee delivered raw, stripped-down aggression for drag racing and straight-line speed. And the Dart Swinger brought lightweight performance into a more accessible world for younger drivers. This was not just a product lineup. It was a complete performance identity. Dodge wasn't trying to compete quietly anymore. It was trying to dominate every corner of the muscle car world at the same time, with no hesitation and no compromise. Then comes one of the most important cars in Dodge history, the 1970 Challenger. At first glance, it entered the pony car battle against legends like the Ford Mustang and Chevrolet Camaro. But Dodge didn't simply follow their formula. It redefined its own path. The Challenger shared its mechanical foundation with the Plymouth Barracuda, yet Dodge reshaped it into something more mature, more comfortable, and more versatile. It was longer, roomier, and designed with a driving position that felt less cramped compared to smaller pony cars of the era. This wasn't accidental. Dodge understood a growing shift in buyers. Many enthusiasts who grew up with early muscle cars were now older. They still wanted performance, but they also wanted comfort for longer drives, smoother cruising, and a more refined driving experience. So the Challenger became something rare for its time. It was not just a weekend performance toy or a track machine. It was a muscle car you could actually live with every day. On normal roads, it felt controlled and smooth. But the moment you pressed the accelerator, the V8 engine responded with immediate force, delivering a deep surge of power that reminded you exactly what kind of machine you were driving. That contrast between calm and aggression is what made it unforgettable. While the Challenger represented balance, the 1970 Dodge Charger represented pure presence and authority. Its second-generation design is still one of the most recognizable silhouettes in American automotive history. Hidden headlights, a wide, aggressive stance, and a fastback roofline created a look that felt powerful even when the car was completely still. But the Charger was more than design. Behind its shape was real engineering influenced by NASCAR racing. During this era, manufacturers were learning hard lessons from high-speed oval track competition. Stability at speed mattered just as much as horsepower. That influence shaped how the Charger behaved on the road. At higher speeds, it felt planted, stable, and confident. Where many cars of the time would start to feel light or unpredictable, the Charger maintained control. It gave drivers a sense of trust in the machine, and in the muscle car world, that trust meant everything. Inside, the philosophy stayed simple. No unnecessary luxury distractions, no overcomplicated controls. Just a focused driving environment built around one idea: connection between driver and machine. When you sat behind the wheel, you didn't feel isolated. You felt involved. Every vibration, every engine note, every movement of the car reminded you that this was not a passive experience. It was active, mechanical, and alive. Then there was the Coronet Super Bee, one of the most direct and aggressive expressions of Dodge performance philosophy. Unlike the Charger or Challenger, the Super Bee was not designed for comfort, balance, or refinement. It was built with one clear intention: maximum performance with minimum distraction. It belonged to Dodge's Scat Pack identity, a performance-focused group of cars designed specifically for drag strip dominance and straight-line acceleration. But what made the Super Bee especially important was its positioning. It was designed to be more affordable than the higher-end muscle cars, giving more people access to serious performance. This decision changed the culture around muscle cars. Performance was no longer limited to only the most expensive models. On the road, the Super Bee felt raw and unfiltered. The engine response was immediate, the sound was aggressive, and the entire driving experience was intentionally direct. It didn't hide anything. It didn't soften anything. What you got was exactly what it was: pure mechanical aggression with no compromise. Then comes the Dodge Dart Swinger 340, a smaller but extremely important part of Dodge's 1970 story. At a time when muscle cars were becoming heavier and more expensive, the Dart proved something different. Lightweight design combined with V8 power could still create a serious performance machine. In real-world driving, especially short-distance racing, weight mattered as much as horsepower. The Dart's lighter body allowed it to launch faster and respond quicker than many larger competitors. This made it surprisingly effective in drag racing environments where initial acceleration often decided the outcome. But beyond performance, its real importance was accessibility. It gave younger drivers and new enthusiasts an entry point into muscle car culture without the financial burden of full-size performance cars. On the street, it felt more agile and playful than its larger siblings, yet still delivered the emotional punch expected from a true muscle machine. And then we reach the heart of the entire 1970 Dodge performance identity, the legendary 426 HEMI engine. By this time, the HEMI had become more than just an engine option. It had become a symbol of extreme American engineering ambition and performance culture. Its hemispherical combustion chamber design allowed for strong airflow and efficient combustion, which contributed to its powerful output and reputation. But what made the HEMI legendary was not just engineering, it was experience. When it started, it didn't feel smooth or quiet. It felt alive. The deep vibration, the heavy exhaust tone, and the instant throttle response created an emotional reaction that modern engines rarely replicate. Because of its extreme performance, it also came with practical consequences: higher insurance costs and limited availability. That rarity only increased its status among enthusiasts. For those who experienced it, the HEMI was not just a mechanical component. It felt like a force inside the car, always ready, always demanding respect, and always delivering intensity. As 1970 moved forward, something important was changing quietly in the background. Regulations were tightening, insurance companies were becoming stricter, and fuel concerns were slowly entering conversations that once focused only on performance. That time, most drivers didn't realize they were living through the peak of an era. A moment when raw power still existed without restriction, before the automotive world began shifting toward efficiency and control. That is what makes the 1970 Dodge lineup so significant. It represents the final golden expression of American muscle before an entire era came to a close. Looking back today, these cars are remembered for more than speed or design. They are remembered because they had personality. Each one had a distinct character, each engine had a unique voice, and each drive created a memory that stayed with the driver long after the engine was turned off. So now the question remains: did you ever see one of these classic Dodge machines on the road, or hear stories about them from someone who lived through that unforgettable era?